We're in an era where everybody complains about how everybody plays the same. There's no more unique styles of play. Everybody shoots too many threes, doesn't try hard enough on defense. And then there's the Houston Rockets, who are doing the complete opposite of everybody else.
The question now is, are they just this cute story young team, or are they a serious threat to win the Western Conference?
Let's talk about that. So the regular season ended yesterday, and the Rockets are confirmed the 2 seed. And I think they are one of the biggest surprises of the season, right? Nobody expected this young team to make this big stride. And I think what's most interesting about them is I think their success kind of directly stands against so many conventional wisdoms about what works in the modern NBA. It's kind of amazing to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were the 10 seed last year? They got
41 games last year.
Yeah. Okay.
41 wins last year.
That's
and now up to 2 seed. And again, how they got here is so beautiful to talk about. Because, do you think they have a top 10 player in the league?
No. No.
Do you think they have a top 20 player in the league?
We could have conversations about top 20, but
we can't. No.
Gut feeling, no.
No. Do you think they're a good shooting team that makes up for that lack of star power with offensive skill?
Oh, definitely not. No.
No. Do you think they're a old team with veteran leadership that finds a way to get it out the mud?
No.
No. Do you think they have an elite shot blocking rim protector like Rudy Gobert that carries an elite defense?
No.
What
the hell? They just set up after setup. This is crazy.
And yet they are a fantastic team that solidified number 2 seed. They are a threat to make it as far as the conference finals. If you ask a Rockets fan, they're a threat to make it to the finals, right? As soon as this year, we can talk about how we feel about their long-term ceiling. But the point is, they are a straight-up amazing team, despite not having these key obvious indicators that we typically point to for contenders. And I think today we got to talk about what makes them so good defensively, what makes them work offensively and make up for the lack of indicators we mentioned, and really just, the playoffs start in a couple of days, how we feel about their outlook to make a run this year.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about them. They are definitely, it's not just one of the biggest turnarounds in the NBA, like season to season or anything, but it's also, I don't know. We spent all offseason being the West is loaded because of this team and that team. And the Nuggets have a great player at the top. The Mavericks with healthy Luka are going to make a run at it. And Houston was an afterthought of an afterthought when we were breaking down the Western Conference heading into this year. And so they've just gotten so many improvements from different avenues, as well as I don't know, a little bit of health and a really solid recipe for winning night-to-night regular season games that they've found an incredible amount of success.
Yeah, exactly. A conference that was already thought to be loaded with them being at the bottom of that picture. And then they come in and make it even more loaded to the point now where we're talking about the end of the season and we have 4 teams competing for 7 through 9 that are all extremely good because of teams like the Rockets coming in and pushing everybody down a nod. And yeah, it's a crazy year for this conference, and the Rockets are a big part of that. And they've been good all year, but recently they've convinced people like me who had doubts about them that, oh no, so you can't just write this off at all. You have to seriously consider them for beating other elite playoff teams because they're proving it night in, night out towards the end of the season that they're on that level. And what I mean specifically is last 20 games, 15-5 record with wins over OKC and Golden State. And they had some hard-fought games against the Lakers. They lost one. They lost a close one, but it was an impressive loss, I guess you could say.
Moral victory, baby. We're taking a moral victory home.
Their 4th best offensive rating, 2nd best defensive rating, 2nd best net rating in that time. They held Steph Curry to just 3 points, shooting 1 for 10 in that game. He was on a men island. And they held Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to 22 points with just 2 free throw attempts. It's been an impressive 20 games for them.
Yeah, and I would honestly say, last 20, even, 20 is a nice round number. The final, 3 games of the regular season, barely canon. I know they rested everybody against the Clippers, and they got blown out. And then I think they, maybe second to last game, they did the same thing. And, final game of the season, Nuggets had, back against the wall, had to win. And so, I don't know.
You got Jokic'd.
Yeah, it happens sometimes, but all in all, the way that they closed the season, they were 15-2 at one point with those incredible wins over 2 of the best teams in the NBA in Golden State with Jimmy Butler and OKC that yeah, I don't know. Everybody, you had to take a look around. I had to take a look around and be like, am I missing something here? But are they so good at these certain aspects of basketball that
Yeah.
usually don't translate that like I do have to take a step back and be like, hey, am I being dumb? Am I overthinking it here with the 2 seed that's dominating everyone?
Exactly. For all this season, we've made videos about teams in the West that come out and shock everybody, right? We made videos about the Warriors, videos about the Lakers, all these other teams that we're very impressed with and we think can make a deep run in the playoffs and challenge OKC, or at least get there to face them in the conference finals, right? And every time we do that video, it's always, we do some kind of segment where we talk about them versus other contenders, and we get to the Rockets, and we're high off the top of the world off these other teams, and we're like, hell yeah, they can beat the Rockets. People always treat it like a given, like this team's an easy lick because they're young and aren't good at offense in a traditional fashion, all this stuff that makes sense when you're 40 games in the season and this team is just breaking out, and just, you could write it off as like, oh yeah, sure, they're doing good right now, but it'll normalize, right? Eventually we'll go towards these veteran teams in a playoff setting.
Yeah.
Eventually it gets to a point where you're this good for this long in this unique and extreme of a fashion with this extreme of strengths that you have to stop and think like, is this team just an outlier? Is this team just different and winning in a unique style that isn't typical, but not impossible?
Yeah. And also, like, I don't know, there are other aspects of it, biases that you and I have.
Exactly.
In terms of, it looks really ugly sometimes, but when you point to, hey, last 20 games, they were the 4th best offense in the league. Maybe that doesn't match up with the eye test and how they're generating that offense. But the fact that they're there, I think that is like a testament to being like, oh shit, okay, this isn't like the traditional, we play defense and we try our hardest on the other end of the floor kind of team. They have a different angle to them.
Yeah. What it is they do have the weaknesses that we've all talked about, and we'll talk about it in this video, but their strengths aren't just effort-based. They have legitimately high-end talents that give them edges in categories that don't typically lead to elite offense. I say don't typically, almost never do, but they do for them, and it's real, and it's translatable, and it's not something you can write off. And, but let's go through the offense, go through their defense. Let's start with the defense, because obviously that's a driving factor, right? What do you think why do they have such an elite defense? Why have they been top 5 in defense all year, but despite not having like a Rudy Gobert level interior presence?
Well, off top, I would commend Şengün for being better defensively than the archetype suggests, where he gets lumped in as like the Charmander version of Jokic, where it's like Jokic, Sabonis, Şengün, because they can all pass. But Şengün, versatility-wise on the perimeter, has been really good in a way that has allowed them to run this style of defense where they aren't constantly throwing help his way, and that emboldens them to play all of these insanely athletic wings who they can then just be like, hey, you just stick on your man and you make his life as hard as you can for like 5 straight minutes, and then we'll get you out, we'll get you some rest, and we'll throw the next incredibly elite wing defender out there.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the wings is what it is, right? We got this pulled up. Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith, all versatile people who can defend 2 through 4, and really obviously they can defend 1s too, especially with the men. So we'll call it 1 through 4. Even 5 with Jabari Smith, and listen, you get immense switch onto the right big. It's not exactly easy pickings.
Yes.
Incredibly versatile defenders that I talk a lot on both shows about how the best defenses in the league, the best contenders, typically have a really versatile power forward size defender. And if they don't have that, they have to acquire that. That's what made the Nuggets get elite with Aaron Gordon. That's what made the Mavs turn around last year with PJ Washington. Jason Tatum's so good defensively because he fills that role. Obviously, Giannis is a weak side help shot defender in that role to like a mutant degree, is why he won DPOY. Draymond Green, one of the best defenders of all time for playing that role. It's pretty much integral for having an elite defense in the modern NBA with how switchable and versatile your defense has to be in the era of perimeter play. They got 4 of those motherfuckers on this team. Yeah,
I mean, they have 4 people that would genuinely change your life defensively. Yeah. Like if you're like, if you take an average defense, if you take the Grizzlies are a good comp. Since the 1st of 2025, since the 1st of January, the Grizzlies have been mid as hell defensively. If they had any one of these guys, if they had Tari Eason out there helping out with Jaren Jackson and everybody, like, it would be a completely different kind of defense. And so to have 4 of those guys that you can just be like, hey, be aggressive. If you get into foul trouble, we don't care. We're insulated from that. Go as hard as you can. If you get tired, we don't care. We have more guys that we can like throw out there to get you rest or whatever. And then it also allows you to, like, I don't know, lean on. I don't think Fred VanVleet's the worst defender in the world, but you can run out guys who traditionally would get picked on defensively just because you're getting so much help from so many other avenues.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Sengun. Sengun will never be a like transcendent defensive player just because his physical limitations, right? Mm-hmm. He's not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, not a vertical athlete under the rim. So he won't be like leading all defensive teams. But he's been so adequate interior on the pick and roll and drop coverage, ability to play with IQ and be in the right spot positionally that he's not a liability at all anymore. When I think earlier in his career, he was a negative defender. Yeah. Now he is neutral to a little bit above average. And if you can have a guy who is 6.5 out of 10, however you want to grade him defensively, with this much elite talent around him, he's going to look even better because he has so much help fighting around these screens, helping him rotate. That's all you need is you need adequacy down there. And normally, we look at DPOY conversations. It's always big men, right? Because the singular ability of an elite rim protector to elevate a defense is greater than any other position, right? An elite point guard defender, an elite wing defender can't carry the load that a prime Rudy Gobert can because he can help on every play and really just kind of like be a fire hydrant putting out fires around him all over everywhere you look, right? You see a weakness here, a weakness there. He can help them all.
You're plugging pipes or something? We have a go-to metaphor for this. Yeah,
exactly. I was trying to remember that one. A wing defender can't do that. But when you have a group of 4 or 5 of them that all can do that, you can have the inverse. You can have elite perimeter defenders that cover up for a good enough interior defender. And overall, that leads to a crazy athletic defense that allows you to get away with your best offensive player being a guy that doesn't have to necessarily be that defensive focal point at the 5.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. When you watch them, it's so often that like someone gets beat by a really good player and you're like, oh, they're cooked. And then especially Tari Eason and Amen Thompson, their ability to like help over and block shots, it's like having like a well above average 7-footer out there, just in addition to Sengun and everything between those two and their help side rim protection. Cause it's just like, I don't know, guys have a clear lane to the basket and it's erased immediately. And part of it's effort, but part of it is just like they are so athletic.
Yeah, a big part of that is Jabari Smith too, who he gets often overlooked because they have better draft picks that hit relative to draft selection, right? Mm-hmm. He was 3rd overall. People kind of expect him to be a star. He's not that.
Pick bias.
Literally, it's the inverse of Jalen Green, where people say you were picked too high, so we're not going to give you credit for being a good role player. When he is a very good role player, like during that slump in the middle of the season where we all were like, okay, first round, exit, whatever, that coincides exactly with Jabari Smith missing a lot of time and their defense fell off for a small time because of that. He is vital to making Sengun good defensively, I think, and giving you that extra length down low when you have 2 guys of that wingspan. Those lineups of both of them on the court moves me a lot. And then you have guys like the other ones you mentioned about Dylan Brooks and Amen, both being extremely good at blowing up screens, being individual defenders flanking them. There's not a lot of holes to poke at defensively anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know. That's, like, to me, clearly, of everything we're going to talk about today, this is the most directly translatable. Throughout the course of the entire season, there has not been a moment where I've been like, is this sustainable for the playoffs? I've always thought whoever drew them, even if they plummeted to, like, the 6-7 seed or whatever, much less you catch them as the 2 seed, they were going to have their lives be hell, like trying to score the basketball. And I especially feel like that now. Like, we'll get into their playoff matchups in a little bit, but whoever is dribbling the ball against this team, your hands are going to be full.
Yeah, it's such a physically imposing defense, right? Like you look across the league, there's plenty of good defenses that do it in different styles. Their style is straight up like, I'm going to punch you in the chest every time we touch the ball, and we're going to win with physicality, win with athleticism up and down the roster. And that translates to the numbers in a lot of ways. Like I got this pulled up. They're third lowest in 3-point volume allowed, and I think that's directly tied to just their foot speed. They're so good at rotating with all those fast perimeter defenders that they don't make it easy for you to get shots from 3. And I think they know that they're a low volume 3-point offense, so they don't want to give up too much there and lose that battle by too much mathematically. So they fly around there, making it hard to get your shots off. They have the 6th best opponent offensive rebound percentage allowed. And listen, we'll get to offensive rebounding when we get to the offense, but they also make sure that they hit the boards defensively and don't give up a lot there. Another thing I think you can tie to athleticism. They're 4th best in transition defense in terms of frequency and efficiency, and third in half-court offense. These are all very tangible ways that they just out-athlete you on the defensive end and just make it so you're going to have to fight for every inch of shot making you get. You're going to have to make difficult shots because you're not going to blow by us, and you're going to have to do it consistently. Don't turn the ball over because we're going to get out and run, and we're not going to let you get out and run too much on the other end. You just got to earn every single bucket against them. And that's hard to do for 7 straight games.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, it's like, it's not, I feel like when we call a defense effort based or whatever, it can kind of give them like this stink, this bad aura of like, well, these guys aren't that good. They just try really hard the whole time. But when you have a defense full of guys who are incredibly talented and you get them as bought in for 82 games as Ime Udoka has had the Rockets, it's like, holy shit. There are some nights where like, I don't know, if you catch them playing like a pretty mid team, it's like, dude, are these guys even going to score 90 points? Like they can't get the ball over half court sometimes. It's just insane.
When you have the perfect coach to inspire effort and you give him a mutant like Amen Thompson and convince him to use 100% of his effort every play, you get a guy who's going to be on DPOY ballots because it's a crazy combination of motor and pure skill. And even your poor defenders like Jalen Green and other guys across the roster that aren't good defensively, they're athletic as hell and they're going to run fast and they're going to at least try whenever they have to lock in. Like, you at least have everybody on the court either tries hard or is athletic or is both. And it makes for just a good combination.
Yeah. And so that's the other part of it is like, I don't know how much we're going to talk about their transition offense today, but like that's where Jalen Green shines to me a lot is the fact that like, hey, maybe he's not making the play defensively, but there's never like a bad body language. I don't want to single out D'Angelo Russell here, but like I do feel like he, within his time with the Lakers, he had some body language issues at points, some engagement stuff. And with Jalen Green and the rest of the quote unquote bad defenders, it's always, okay, they got the ball, we are moving. I'm flying down the floor. I'm going to get to the free throw line. I'm going to put pressure on the rim, all that stuff. And so for everybody to be this bought in, that's what, I don't know, it kind of changes my tune because well, if you do that for 82 games, then it's like, I have no choice but to take you seriously.
The interesting part about them though too is, let's talk about the offense. Their offensive skill sets and what makes them good are so like completely linked to their defense. Like it's not two sides of the ball with some teams that's, I'm trying to think of a comparison. The Orlando Magic. Very good defense, very bad offense, right?
Yes.
They don't necessarily, their defensive skills don't elevate them offensively at all, really, despite them having very similar weaknesses to the Houston Rockets defensively. Like if you look at the slide, what they have to overcome. Currently, the Rockets are 23rd in rim field goal percentage, 25th in mid-range field goal percentage, 20th in three-point, 28th in three-point volume, and 22nd in half-court offensive rating.
None of those are very good, Isaac.
I think they're all fucking ass. But that's what they have to overcome, right? But they overcome it by tying in their defense to incredibly important offensive skill sets that, despite all this, they've had a top 10 offensive rating for a long stretch of the season. And that's because what you said, they are transition menaces. They use that athleticism to get stops defensively and run like fucking crazy on the other end. They said, we know we're not going to have a good half-court offense. Everything you point to say we're going to get beat in a playoff setting because when the game slows down, they got Luka Doncic, we got Jalen Green, right? That's not going to be a recipe
They're
for
doing,
success.
What is this, 8 Mile? They're doing the last round. He's like, I am a white trash trailer guy. That's the Houston Rockets offense, baby.
Yeah. I can't shoot. I can't dribble. I can barely pass. I can motherfucking run. And they do that. Their transition attack is just straight up amazing when you combine it with their defense. Like, to be a top 10 offense for a long stretch of the season without being good at shooting above average from any point on the court, it's breathtaking. Like that, they straight up win the turnover battle, get out and run, and also win the offensive rebound battle, which is, I'm burying the lead here because this is the most important part. Tell me about their abilities on the board.
So to tie it back to like the effort thing that I'm talking about, where when you give someone they're not very good defensively, they just try hard. That does not apply to the Rockets. But if you said they're not very good offensively, they just try hard, I feel like that
that applies.
That lands a lot closer to home just because they beat the shit out of people on the offensive glass. Specifically the tandem of Şengün and Steven Adams. They have just been overwhelming at that specific facet of basketball. I think this is the third season in Adams' career he's going to finish with more offensive rebounds than defensive rebounds, and the per 75 shit. It's one of the best offensive rebounding teams of all time. So when he and Şengün are on the floor together, the Rockets average 126 points per 100 possessions while holding opponents to just 94 per 100 on 46% effective field goal percentage.
It's crazy.
Their 51% offensive rebound percentage is 100th percentile. Their 38 points per miss is 99th percentile. And their 36 plays per miss is 100th percentile. Essentially, especially what that offensive rebounding percentage means, is that every time they miss a shot, half the time, they're just getting the ball back. It's crazy. Like, I really can't put into perspective how insane that is. You just have to watch them get like 8 possessions in 2 trips down the floor. And then it really sets in where you're like, oh, damn, this is like a sustainable thing that they can just spam.
Yeah. Steven Adams currently the season's over. So he's finishing the season with the highest offensive rebound percentage in NBA history. 19.2% of the team's field goals when he's on the court, he gets an offensive rebound for. There's never been higher. Not Rodman, not Andre Drummond, nobody. And, as far as you mentioned, the defense is scalable with the athleticism. The transition attack is scalable. Maybe you can argue whether or not a playoff defense can negate that a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah.
You can't negate the fact that they are the best offensive rebounders you're ever going to see. And they do it in such a unique way because it feels like, I assume, what it felt like to watch Prime Shaq when you're watching day by day, and he would just camp up down low. Every time down, he would go down there. No matter what goes on, he stays down there. The shot goes up, throws everybody around, gets the offensive rebound. That's how they use Steven Adams. Legitimately in the same exact way. It's like a one-man zone defensively, but it's on offense. All he does is camping around the paint no matter what and try to get the offensive boards, push people around because he's bigger and stronger than everybody, makes him look silly grabbing the boards. And like, it goes against conventional wisdom because you would think you have this guy in Şengün who's a low post scorer at his best, maybe towards the elbows, you can space him a little bit, but he wants to get to the rim and use his footwork and get there. You put the biggest guy on the court under the rim and tell him to stand there the whole time. That makes the spacing worse, right?
Yes.
But no, because nobody wants to rotate off of Steven Adams. They bear hug him and try their hardest to box him out because they don't want him to get an offensive board. So they rarely come down and help and actually make it so you feel that lack of spacing. It's like essentially like having a guy in the dunker spot that nobody wants to help off of because you throw him a lob. Basically the same thing because they don't want him to get a board. So he kind of spaces the floor from the dunker spot a little bit. It's kind of strange, but it works.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's yeah. I feel like spacing is a relatively new like concept in how people talk about it, I guess. And so they're like spacing, it happens in all shapes and forms. And spacing from the dunker spot is absolutely a thing. And I mean, I think the pairing is cool specifically because when you shoot threes, you really limit Steven Adams' ability to get an offensive rebound because the ball is bouncing super far off the rim. It's very rare that like you put up a 3-pointer and it bricks and then it drops straight down into like the restricted area or whatever. But hey, if Şengün's taking a baby hook and like he bricks that or whatever, that ball is up for grabs. And it almost feels like we've foreshadowed this for like years, where every time anyone has ever said something publicly about Steven Adams, it's just been, he's so strong. He's the strongest guy I've ever met. And so, hey, 8 years, he's always been like great at offensive rebounding, but for a team to kind of, especially in the final quarter of the season, embrace it in a way that is like key to their identity and key to how they're going to scale into the playoffs. It's great. It makes me very happy because I like Steven Adams. He's such a good guy. Yeah.
And you mentioned, so typically one of the worst things you can do in terms of point per possession efficiency is have your center miss a layup, miss an interior shot because the other team gets a rebound, your center's in the paint, your number one rim protector, can't get back on defense in transition. That's what leads to the most opponent points in transition on the other end is your big guy misses a layup. And, someone like Şengün, who is a low post scorer, not the most efficient in the world, when he's playing the 5, that could happen. Yes. They have amazing athletes, so they get back. But that's a position where you can make yourself vulnerable, right? If you can eliminate that entirely by having a guy that grabs half of those misses, that's an amazing, amazing source of value to negate one of the biggest weaknesses that come with your style of play.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It remind like everything you're saying. It keeps putting the Cars movie line, Doc Hudson. You got to turn left to turn right. That's what keeps like echoing in my brain, because you're like, well, this is super inefficient when a normal team does it, and that's super inefficient when a normal team does it. And it's like the Rockets had a coaching meeting, and they're like, hey, we could be averagely efficient, hopefully, with all of these like traditional attacks, or we could completely abandon all of that, and we could just embrace the shit that we individually are really good at. And it's yielded incredible results for them.
They have to miss shots to make shots. That's their offense. Is we're gonna elite scoring difference from second chance points. We're gonna destroy you there. First chance points were ass. We're beyond bad for a playoff team.
Don't worry about it.
So
who cares?
Points.
Shut up. Quit asking. God, get the rebound.
We're gonna grab that board. And, so this is extremely unique, right? And I understand why people struggle to deal with this. Their best player is an interior post scorer without shooting around him and without a super reliable second scorer around him, because Jalen Green has his highs, has his lows, right?
Yeah.
That is not traditionally a good formula for winning. But you have these other things you're mentioning, the transition, the crazy offensive rebounding, the defense, everything that goes with that people can't really comprehend that. The instinct is to say nobody wins like that, so they can't win like that, right? So I guess we can go on to the second part. Can they win like that, right? Like what is our takeaway here? We're describing why they're good. What does that mean? Are you still of the opinion that they're an easy lick in the first round, or are these real advantages that can beat a lot of good teams?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as someone who thought about them that way for a while, and I like all that we've said in this video is to say that they have moved up a tier in my mind into the I have no idea what's going to happen in a loaded Western Conference thing. Where earlier it was like, oh shit, if they draw, Steph and Jimmy or LeBron and Luka in the first round, I think there's just a talent disparity that's gonna pop up. And part of that's because Şengün individually did not have like a particularly strong scoring season or anything, and on top of all of their other offensive issues. But now that they've leapt up that tier, it's just kind of like, hey, like this shit just might go 7 games, and maybe Draymond or whoever like his heart triumphs. It's not the size of the dog in the fight type shit, and he can limit their offensive rebounding a bit. But maybe it doesn't work, and maybe they just through sheer force of will do end up making the conference finals. Like crazier things have happened.
Yeah. So currently they're the second seed in the West. They will face, by the time you guys watch this video in a day or two, whenever you see it, you'll probably know who they're going to face. But as of recording this on Monday, they will face either the Grizzlies or the Warriors in a playoff matchup. Warriors, that's a tough one. We'll talk about the stylistic issues there that I don't know who I'll pick there, but I think about it. I think they would beat the Grizzlies. I would pick them over the Grizzlies. I think I'm picking the Rockets, and I'll think about it. The Grizzlies deserve respect, so I'm not going to come out here and say something like it's easy. But it's close to easy. I'm close to saying that the Rockets can straight up win that. And I don't know, man. I don't think they can win a championship. I'm not going to come up here and glaze to that extent where I think, watch out, this team is sneaky. They can win it all. I'm not even saying that. But there's a medium here between how the average
They won 41
NBA
games, there's a gradient, definitely.
Yeah. NBA playoff basketball is different. It's only so much different, though. It's not a different sport. It's not a different world in which it makes, like, you can't win. You can't be the second seed by goddamn accident, right? So,
yes.
We're really, you mentioned at the top of this video, we have certain biases that we have to really examine. And I'm always trying to do that because your opinions are always going to change if you pay attention to the inputs and pay attention to what's happening around the league and challenge your traditional ways of thinking.
Yeah.
They're making me challenge the shit out of my traditional ways of thinking.
Hey, yeah.
And I'm starting to think that they're going to win a series. And if you tell me they're in the conference finals, I won't be shocked. I'm not going to predict it I'm not going to predict them to beat some teams. Like maybe I'll pick the Lakers over them or whatever, but they certainly stand a chance against teams that I would say I favor over them.
Yeah. I mean, specifically the Grizzlies. I don't know. First of all, the whole like changing your opinion with input thing. It's crazy what a foreign fucking concept that is to some people. Oh my God. I had a tweet to people circling back. Oh, the Clippers are the worst situation in the league from October of last year. And I was like, you know what? First of all, the situation's not great still. Second of all, fine, circle back. Fine. I underestimated Harden. I didn't know Norm Powell was going to lock in like that. All of these different inputs that have led us to these new opinions. And I think when we're talking about them against the Grizzlies, if we want to give the Grizzlies this benefit of the doubt or whatever, you can at least say, hey, Ja has looked more like himself in recent weeks. Pretty much every other advantage leans Houston in terms of health. I know the Grizzlies are missing Jalen Wells and Brandon Clark, probably for the entire first round matchup. Jalen Green, he looked really good against them. He averaged 29 points per game on 63% true shooting as the Rockets went 3-1 against the Grizzlies this season. Şengün averaged 22 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. I would say in terms of like bruising physical centers who can counteract what Şengün wants to do offensively. Jaren Jackson Jr. probably isn't like the default go-to. I would pick that guy to guard him. And then Memphis was, like I said, the 19th ranked defense since January 1st of 2025. And so you take all this stuff together and it's like, is the Grizzlies maybe slightly having the best player in the series, or maybe soundly having the best player in the series? Is that enough to make up all of this ground in all these other places?
I think they have some pretty good Ja Morant defenders on this team. I think Amen Thompson is quite the good answer to one of the most fastest athletic ball handlers you can think of, that slithers between your defense, has a first step that most defenders can't stay in front of, and can jump in a way most defenders can't contend with. Amen Thompson is bigger, faster, stronger. Amen Thompson is a good answer. And obviously it's not as simple as one guy defends him. This isn't the 1990s. You can't just stick a guy on there in ISO and have that happen. So it's a collective effort. I like the up and down roster construction to win with collective effort defending Ja Morant. I think they are uniquely capable of matching up well against him. And, since they fired Taylor Jenkins, they've really gone more towards a Ja Morant-centric pick and roll attack, which has made him look more electric than ever. Jaren Jackson hasn't had quite as good of a time in this new system, and that might be a coincidence, small sample size. He might look good still, but if he's not going to be a walking mismatch, I don't know what the biggest strength they have in this matchup is. And even if Jaren Jackson is playing well, you got a lot of defenders that can stick with him too. A man can guard both of them. Tari Eason can defend Jaren Jackson quite well, I imagine. Jabari Smith is a good size matchup. I don't know what to point to that gives Memphis a huge advantage other than Ja Morant going sicko mode.
Yeah. So if I'm the Rockets, I want the Grizzlies to win the game. Long story short, like if I'm a Rockets fan, I'm pulling for Memphis to just have like a nuclear shooting night, and we just don't. Because I mean, do you have any other thoughts about the Grizzlies, or you want to break down the Warriors? Gets a little uglier.
Yeah, I'll just say I'm picking the Rockets quite easily against the Grizzlies. We can leave it there and go to the one that's more interesting, because this is let's talk about the Warriors if they get them in the first round, because this is a good philosophical, stylistic comparison to talk about these like direct biases we're talking about and these strengths and weaknesses of both teams, because they really are kind of like the inverse of each other in a lot of ways.
Have you ever seen that image where it's like the voting results and it's like 51% diarrhea forever and then 49% everyone gets a puppy? That's how I feel about this matchup, because like it's so the Rockets want the Grizzlies so bad. Like the Warriors look so fucking good right now, and they just have had very little success against them. They're 2-3 this season against the Warriors in those head-to-head matchups. Şengün has averaged 17 points per game. Jalen Green averaged 13 points per game. And the Warriors held them to under 100 points in 3 of their 5 matchups. And so,
yikes.
It's not impossible that they would win the series or whatever. Over the course of 7 games, we're making adjustments. We're going back and forth. But first of all, Draymond is a really good counter for Şengün as an offensive player. He's probably one of the guys that you would pick to guard Şengün individually. The Warriors... Yeah,
it's like Gobert and him are probably the best two I can imagine.
Yeah, and the Warriors... So, like, if it's just Ja being the best player in the series, maybe that's not the difference maker. But if it's Steph Curry being the best player in the series and Jimmy Butler being the second best player in the series and the Warriors having a pretty solid supporting cast anchored by an incredible all-time defender in Draymond, that's a different conversation than the conversation we're having with the Grizzlies.
Yeah. Yeah, this gets into the fact that the Warriors also pretty good transition offense, so they're really going to test the transition defense of the Rockets. That's currently a strength. The defense of the Warriors is just as good, if not better, as of late. You know, post-trade deadline, they're two of the top defenses in the league, so it'll be a rock fight for sure. It'll be brutal. I think it goes 6 or 7 games. I think even with everything that we know about the Warriors, they're veteran savvy. If we get playoff Jimmy, the strengths of Steph Curry and Draymond Green as a duo, even with all this put together, I think it goes 6 or 7 games, and it'll be gruesome to win. It'll be a rock fight, like I said. It'll test how much half-court offense matters, how much it is an end-all, be-all. Because everything we're saying here, it's two defenses that can probably limit each other's transition attack. Probably quite feasibly. So, can you offensive rebound your way to a playoff win is going to be the question here.
I mean, maybe. But, like, it's just like, can you out-rebound? Because to me, if you talk about the game slowing down into the half court, who benefits the most from this? Jimmy Butler. Massively, like, it feels like he gets exponentially better when the game slows down in the half court, and especially when he can, like, bait guys into contact and get to the free throw line, which we've seen him find a massive amount of success with tons of times in the past in the postseason. And so he would really help. And then this approach Houston has where they're like, hey, you're not getting threes up. It's good, and it's worked, and they won all these games, and they did 82 games of it. People have been trying to not let Steph Curry shoot 3-pointers for like 12 years at this point. Like that's been the question for forever. And so if they're the team to do it, cool, that's sick. I just don't know if I'd like bet my house on it or something.
Yeah, this is too close. I'm not betting my house either way. I mentioned there's a few teams I would still pick over the Rockets. I'd pick OKC, I'd pick the Lakers, and I'd probably pick the Warriors. These are the 3 teams. So, like you said, they better pray they get the Grizzlies, I think, because that's easy lickings, I think. But, man. I want to give the Rockets benefit of the doubt, but we understand that if you have 2 elite defenses and one side has one of the greatest offensive players of all time and a very capable second star, and the game slows down, late game execution, I'm going to go towards the Golden State Warriors being able to execute late game, right? They don't have that much glaring of a weakness. And the only thing, though, is they're not a good rebounding team, the Warriors.
Yes.
Like, they're very small. So if you are of the belief that this rebounding attack can translate, the Warriors are a pretty good team for that to translate against.
Yeah. No, I mean, even we just saw it last night. It's several nights ago, and this video goes up. But that incredible Clippers game that went into overtime, the Clippers were extending possessions 2 or 3 times with, high effort plays from like Derrick Jones Jr. or whatever. And shout out to Derrick Jones. Like he's really good, and he's like great at making those small role player margin plays. But going back to the wing depth of Houston, they're rolling out 4 guys who are trying to make those plays 100 miles an hour every time. And so I could see it working. I hate to toe the line like this, but it genuinely... I don't.
It's a close series. I don't know.
Like, it's... what the fuck do I can't see the future. Like, I'm sure we get a couple games in, maybe I'll feel differently. But right now, it's just, I have no clue.
So I think what'll decide the series is, obviously, like always, what version of Jalen Green do you get? If you get one of these stretches where he's averaging 26 on fucking 58% true shooting, being 6% better than his normal averages, and being a lightning rod,
that would be so funny if they just got 7 of the greatest games of Jalen Green's life. Oh my God.
That's what happens in the playoffs, though. That's what you need. That type of thing can happen.
Right. Oh,
shooting variance can be part of it. That'll be a big deciding factor. What does the Amen Thompson and Alperen Sengun, like 2-man game or just presence of both of them on the court together, look like against a really smart defense like Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green? Because I saw this graphic that I think it was Automatic NBA, or maybe it was NBA University, some account on Twitter pulled this like composite score of everybody's shooting abilities and did the best and worst shooters in the NBA by doing this like combination of all their shooting based analytics. In the bottom 15 shooters in the NBA were Alperen Sengun and Amen Thompson. So how they can deal with that strategically is going to be a big thing that decides their just long, even outside the first round, like long-term playoff success, even if they get past the Grizzlies. And I think the Warriors are a good team to take advantage of that, because you can't ask for a smarter defensive duo than those two I just mentioned. They're gonna make Amen Thompson either be able to make these open shots or be able to attack these closeouts and really make smart decisions going downhill against a defense that's backing off.
Yeah. And it's cool. I think it'll be an interesting look into Ben Simmons. It's not a good comp for the Thompson twins for a number of different reasons, but I think it's a good look into, okay, athletic freak. Like, oh my God, one of the best athletes I've ever seen. Who maintains aggression and isn't afraid of going to the free throw line in the postseason. Because that's one thing we saw from Ben Simmons that seriously hampered the 76ers, was him being like, hey, I do not want to shoot these free throws. I think as long as Thompson like remains willing to like put pressure on the rim, put pressure on the defense, and get guys into foul trouble, get the team closer to the bonus. It's not, I think there are fewer ways to wholly scheme Amen Thompson out of a series. And so I'm looking forward to that, because I do think Jimmy Butler is like a really good first test for the kind of shit he's going to be asked to do.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And like, it's tough that they might draw this matchup that might just be like the perfect solution for what they do. But either way, like the comparison, the contrast, I should say, between the Grizzlies outcome and the Warriors outcome, it'll tell us a lot depending on which way it goes, right? I kind of hope it goes Warriors. I kind of want to see I want to see the Rockets like rise to the occasion.
I have no emotional investment. If they lose, I don't care. So I just want the good basketball if I can get it.
Yeah, I want to see them win. Like, I don't really give a fuck either in terms of fandom, but like, it would be a good story for them to show that like they're so early in the rebuild, they're gonna get so much better. We both believe Amen Thompson's gonna be a superstar. Sengun will keep getting better. Jalen Green will probably keep getting better. They have Reed Shepherd in the pipeline, who, when he gets minutes eventually, we still think will be a good player. Like, they're probably going to trade for fucking Kevin Durant or Devin Booker at this rate. Like,
hey, we'll see. Yeah.
This is the baby version of the Rockets. So if they can prove this year, they can win a series, maybe even two, in which we're making this video because we think they can. We think it's in the realm of possibility if the matches break right. I think that's good for the league to just show that in the age where everything is more homogenous than ever, you can still do things your own way to your own talent.
Adam Silver would be mad as hell, though. He's mad. Adam Silver, you're mad. He's Steph Curry first rounded by Jalen Green. Adam Silver would be so pissed. Oh my God. But it would be cool.
And, I would love it if Adam Silver was pissed by this time next week. I think that would be great.
Yeah. Seethe, Baldy.